Welcome to the Toddcast, your weekly leadership nudge. My name is Todd Long, your host, and also the owner of Leadership Innovations, if you did not know that. Within the last year, I was driving in my minivan with my family down Highway 71, going north towards downtown Kansas City. Speed limit is 65 miles per hour. I like to go a little bit over the speed limit, maybe around 70. I move over into the passing lane to go past a couple of different cars, and as I'm in that lane, this big pickup truck comes right up behind me, right on my tail. And my first initial response is, I'm a little upset, I'm a little frustrated, but okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit, not too far over the speed limit, get past the cars I'm going by and past them and pull into the lane. So I do that, and as the truck blazes by me, I see the notorious middle finger fly up at me. And he speeds up and tailgates the next person in front of him. My immediate response to that was, I was pretty ticked off. Like, I'm driving the speed limit, maybe a little bit above that. I'm moving over so you can pass me and do what you need to do. But I'm a little frustrated by his actions. And the story in my head, the thing I'm telling myself is, I actually want to go speed up to him and give him a piece of my mind. But I calm myself a little bit. I do say some negative comments to my wife about his driving capabilities and what he's doing and how unsafe he is and unresponsible he is. And then I kind of go on with life. Obviously, that story is stuck to me because I remember it pretty darn vividly. I was offended. Our focus today is the middle finger. We all know what the middle finger is. Well, it's actually, I'm going to flip that, and we're going to talk about reconciliation. As opposed to giving people the middle finger, I want to talk about reconciliation. And I want to talk specifically about the one being offended, who has received the offensive experience. This is part of the High Five Leadership series that I've been doing. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about the thumb, which was recognition. Then I talked about the pointer finger, which was about direction. And today it's the middle finger, which is about reconciliation. And again, particularly the one being offended. Let's make this happen. Welcome to the Toddcast, your weekly leadership nudge. Welcome to the Toddcast, great ideas you'll love. When I'm working with a group of people on emotional intelligence, I like to ask this question: what emotions do you experience at work? 100% of the time, the first responses are frustration, anger, confusion, stress. A lot of restraining, heightened emotions. Now, eventually we get to like joy and some pride and some contentment, but the first initial responses are these emotions of stress and anxiousness and frustration. And it seems like that's part of our work experience. We do have in our lives these heightened states of emotions, and we have to find a way to navigate those and deal with those. And oftentimes those are emotions that we experience because somebody has done something to us to offend us. So we're going to talk about reconciliation when we're offended. I'm going to start with defining reconciliation. And I want to define it as restoring, understanding, and accepting. Sometimes there's restoration in a relationship, there's understanding in that relationship or understanding what's happening, or simply maybe an acceptance of the situation. So I'm going to start with that as the definition. And as I said, we get heightened states of emotions in our lives. Our feelings get hurt. Sometimes this is intentionally, that people do this intentionally, but most of the time I'm guessing it's unintentional. There are a number of different causes for this. Recently I heard a story about a person giving a presentation in front of a group of peers. After that presentation was done, this higher level person in the organization berated this lady for the presentation that she gave and basically had very negative comments towards the work she was doing and how poor of a job that she was doing. I've heard stories about people being yelled at, cursed at. I've heard a number of stories about people being mistreated in the workplace. So there are negative emotions that we experience in the workplace and in our lives. We get our feelings hurt. Sometimes that's intentional, sometimes that's unintentional. And we could list off a bunch of the causes. We get corrected in front of our peers. We didn't get asked about our opinion when some sort of change happens, so that offends us. I've heard stories about people feeling like they've been treated unfairly. So we know these causes. We've experienced them ourselves. So then what do we do when our feelings are hurt? Well, there's some things that are not so helpful that we can do. Let me identify those so we don't go into that. Then I'm going to talk about when our feelings are hurt. So here's some things that aren't so helpful. One is we think, and we think upon whatever that situation was. It dwells in our mind, and we go over and over and replay it. We lose sleep over it, and we dwell on it, and it's not very helpful. So that's one response when we're offended. Another not so helpful response is when we're offended is we want to get revenge. It's like every high school movie plot line. The revenge. Somebody's hurt, we want to get revenge. I would say that we get revenge in subtle ways. We get revenge in passive-aggressive communication or subtle jabs at people. Another way that's not very helpful when we feel like we're offended is that we tell someone else. We gossip. We want to feel justified. We want to feel like somebody hears us. So we don't actually talk to the person that offended us. We talk to someone else. So those are ways that aren't so helpful. Let's look at some helpful ways to deal with when we're offended. So first of all, we have to check our story. Every time we're offended, a narrative goes on in our mind. We have to check that story and to determine what's that story about. Is it real? Am I making something up? How is this story affecting me? What's happening in this particular story? That's the first step, is check your story. Then there's a couple options here. One, we can let it go, or two, we can talk about it to the appropriate person. Let's start with let it go. I'm not talking about the song from Frozen, although that is probably going through your mind right now. We can let it go by simply going, that's on me. I made up a really stupid story. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to move past it. Number two, we can forgive. The person that drove up behind me and tailgated me and gave me the finger, I go, you know what? I don't know your situation. I don't know your story, but I forgive you for that act. So forgiveness is a part of this as well. But maybe we want to talk it out. And so here's some steps that I found that can be helpful to talking through this when we're offended. I also recognize I'm still working on this. Here's what you can do when you're offended and you want to talk it out. One is take the time to think about it before you actually talk it out. Number two, gain permission. Hey, I'd like to talk to you about the promotion that I didn't get. When would be a good time to talk about that? So gain permission. Then it's about sharing your feelings. So I feel frustrated and disappointed that I didn't get the promotion. I thought I was a great candidate for the job. It's the I feel. Then we can talk about what I believe. I believe that I have the skills and experience to do the job, and I believe your goals are to make the best decisions possible for the team and for the organization. It's I feel, then it's I believe, then I would like. I'd like the opportunity to continue to learn and grow in these very specific areas so I can get better at my job, so the next time a promotion comes up, I can be a viable candidate for it. Those are the steps to have that conversation. Think about the conversation first of all, but then gain permission, and then I feel, I believe, and I would like. So here's the try it out section of this podcast. It's a personal reflection exercise, and it simply starts with identifying a recent situation that caused you to have some sort of heightened emotional condition where you might have been offended. Pause and think about what's the story that's going on in your mind. That's the first step. And to determine what you want to do with that. Do you want to let that go and you need to offer some forgiveness, or do you want to talk about it? If you want to talk about it, take a minute and reflect on I feel, then I believe, and I would like. And do this in a productive manner so it's helping to move things forward in a positive way. And then you can decide to have that conversation or not. But take the time to actually reflect on it before you have the conversation. Here's our quote for the week. I love this quote. It's by Tamara Coolish. If you never heal from what hurt you, you'll bleed on people who didn't cut you. Let that sink in for a few minutes. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Toddcast. Our next episode, we're actually going to focus on the middle finger again, reconciliation, but we're going to look at it from the other side, when you've offended someone. So come back and listen to that next week. I pray that you have the courage to recognize when you are hurt or offended, and you have the wisdom to know what to do with that. That's to let it go or to forgive or to have a conversation about it. Hey, thank you for listening. Have a great week. We'll talk to you later. Bye.